So special greetings, everyone. Is as we all settle down, settle in, let us all give ourselves a few minutes time for us to center ourselves and focus on mind and breathing. So we will start with silent meditation. So let us sit up right. And for those of you with glasses, you can remove your glasses. Gently close your eyes. Let us just regulate our breathing. Just be aware of every breath that we take. Now let us gently take in a few deep breaths. Gently rub our palms together. Slowly opening our eyes. Cover our palms on our eyes, the top of our head, over our ears, the back of our neck. Let us rub our palms together again. Let us gently massage our shoulders, arms, all the way to our fingers and wrists. Okay. So I hope everyone has a great week. And before I continue sharing what I would like to share with everyone today, so let us have a quick recap of what we have learned and what we have discussed last week. So we talk about planning within a day, a month, a year, and so on and so forth. So when it comes to planning, it is crucial for us to manage our time and focus. So if without plan, and then you go for window shopping, then we will end up the whole cart of things that we might not need. So planning is very important. So as part of the planning, not only we try our best to stick to the plan, but sometimes with the changes of causes and conditions, we learn to adapt to the changes. We're not attaching to what we plan for, but for having a plan is like having a goal, having a vision. The same goes to earlier during the core teachings class, mentioned about upholding precepts. Am I ready or not? So for us, we can make a vow. Okay, a vow to uphold and practice the Bodhisattva's path. So with the vow, we try our best, like to put others before ourselves. But then when it comes to circumstances that we kind of like being doubtful of our ability, but at least deep inside our mind, we know that we have tried our best. Okay, so there's always the possibility of doing adaptation to our plans, but at least we have a plan. At least we have goals, vision, and so on and so forth. And when we have a plan, when we vow to do certain things, okay, we will be more aware of our limitation and what we can go beyond. Okay, we can try, and then when it comes to our next plan, we can make adaptation changes to our plan. Okay, so that is just a quick recap of what we have discussed last Saturday. Okay. So today, I'm going to share with everyone focusing on managing ourselves from the mind. Okay, so we all know that our mind is basically helping us to get to know what our senses perceive every day. And we conceive inside our mind, knowing based on our past experiences, based on our knowledge, and sometimes what we see through our senses, it could be just one small part of the big picture. So, and sometimes we have emotion in it. So sometimes our mind can be diluted or awakened. It depends on our state of mind at the present moment. And sometimes it's default pure bias and bias. Okay, so these are the different states of our mind. So when our mind is diluted or biased or default, sometimes we are driven by the greed or hatred or ignorance. Okay, so when we see the things that we like, most of the time we might have the tendency to want to have a little bit more. Okay, we have that tendency because based on past experience, it was pleasant. So when we're in a similar situation, that all the past experiences, it will pop up, and then we say, oh, okay, this is a good plan. This is a good thing, or this is my favorite thing, favorite food, favorite song, and so on and so forth. We might have the tendencies to want to have more. Okay, but when we are not aware of it, most of the time we'll be driven by what we call greed. So sometimes when it comes to favorite food, we might end up overeating. We might not notice it until afterwards, and then we will feel that, oh, I'm so full, for example. Okay, because our mind at that time wasn't clear, wasn't present. We just focus on what we like and what we dislike. The same thing goes to hatred and the state of mind being ignorant. And then just like there was a news interviewing some of the inmates behind bars. They were saying that, some of them reflected, and then they said that because of my action for 30 seconds, I have to spend 30 years behind bars. So this is what we mentioned about being ignorant. Sometimes because we are driven by our emotions, and of course, we are not having a clear mind, being ignorant, sometimes we regret the things that we have done or the words that we say and many other things. Okay. So one of the ways in managing ourselves from the mind, of course, today, what I would like to share with you with the main focus of the 4 immeasurable states of mind. Okay. So which are the 4? I'm going to go through one by one. But before that, let us look at our mind, okay, during the pandemic. Okay. And right now, today, between March 2020 until today, okay, there are things that we have changed. Even the state of our mind have changed a lot, okay? And there are things that we should do it similarly, whether it is before the pandemic, during the pandemic, or even right now. Okay, let us look at the part with all the bluish thing. Back in March 2020, we started to learn how to use more of online conference, online Zoom or online meeting conference, so on and so forth. And then we learn how to like mute ourselves, turn on the video. So at that state of mind, sometimes Some of us might easily catch up with the technology, but some of us, I remember, we took some time to try out using Zoom. Okay, and Saiba, who is also one of our temple member here, she even took time to help one after the other in how to do Zoom. Okay, but throughout the whole process, we learn listening to the news, experiencing like work at home with the babies crying, children running here and there. Our mind, we try to focus on online meeting. We are focusing on get things done at home. Okay, but with many commotion, like many happenings within the family, sometimes people might not be able to handle it. Sometimes like some of us like even have a corner that says that this is my office. And then try to have like boundaries between the work and home. Okay? But then looking at now, okay, we have the convenience of tele what do you call it? You go to the doctor without physically going to the clinic. Oh, telemedicine. Thank you. Yeah. So even today, parents spend more time with their children, whether doing homework or like reading stories together, and then doing gardening together. So that state of mind has changed a lot, okay, between the past and until today. Okay. But with many things that have been going on, sometimes we might not be aware of what is in our mind. Sometimes we might not be aware of, sometimes we feel stressful, panic, anxiety, and so on and so forth. But today, I would like to share with everyone, how are we going to be more focused and practicing the 4 immeasurable states of mind in our everyday life. Okay. So the first one is loving kindness, okay, which many of us already know. Okay. So just a general introduction, and also like taking a few sentences from the book Keys to Living Well. We approach the world with loving heart, so that we can get along with people and deal with matters. So in our everyday interaction with people, we just try to have a heart that is filled with love, okay, loving kindness. And of course, like, we try to give others joy, give others convenience. That is all loving kindness. And for us to do so, okay, we always need to be more understanding. That is also one of the part of practicing loving kindness, being forgiving, and being willing to serve others. Okay. And last but not least is practice social welfare with pure kindness to benefit humanity. It's like helping or volunteering in many occasions. This is one of the main practice of loving kindness. So let me share with you one of the stories that happened in a traditional Buddhist temple. You know, like in a temple, we have, as part of many practices that we do, there's a space called meditation hall. So in that temple, they have a group of monks having a short-term meditation retreat. So short-term meaning that they are having a year of meditation retreat for a whole year, staying in the meditation hall, doing cleaning, doing chores, and so on and so forth in the meditation hall. So there was one occasion, like because like it's in a traditional meditation hall, just like what I shared last week about like living in a temple. All of us sleep in dormitory. Okay, so it's like there's no separate rooms. Okay, so there was one occasion, someone found that something is missing in the dorm. Okay, and then they reported to the head disciplinarian, saying that I have this thing and it was missing. Okay, and then after a few days, someone said that, oh, I think I know who took it. Okay, another monk is highly suspicious of doing that. And then, but then the head disciplinarian said that, without saying anything else. And after a few months, the same thing happened. Someone approached the head disciplinarian and said that, oh, I have this thing missing again, like another thing missing. They reported to the head disciplinarian. And again, they said that we know who took it. And then the head disciplinarian again just without saying anything. And then the third time happened again. And then the rest of the monks approached the head disciplinarian. We already know who took it, who is a thief in the meditation hall. Why don't you do any action? If you like talking to the head disciplinarian, if you don't want to punish or make announcement of this, we will all leave the meditation hall, said all the monks. Okay. And then do you know what did the head disciplinarian say? And then the whole group of monks started to say, what? You want us to leave? And then only then the head disciplinarian said that we are all practicing here in the meditation hall. If we do not have the loving kindness to embrace the one and only person that can still try to practice, at the same time trying to figure out how to change the habit of taking others' stuff without asking. If I were to let him go, he will be caught and go behind bars. Like out in a society, you'd be like caught red-handed by stealing. He will be behind bars. Okay? So the thief, the monk who has the habit of stealing, overheard what the head disciplinarian has said. And then he felt remorse. Okay? He felt so bad. And then immediately he stood forward and knelt in front of everyone, apologized to everyone for his behavior. Okay. And then he felt so touched by what the head disciplinarian have willing to do for him. So because of that incident, he changed, he turned over into a new leaf. Every time when he has a tendency to take without asking, he reminded of that incident and he stopped at that time. So when it comes to loving kindness, it's not just with metta and then caring for others, but that also includes understanding and being able to forgive. That is also loving kindness. Okay, so I just want to share this story because I think that it is something that we might encounter in life too. Sometimes we might see others doing something bad, and then we won't be able to embrace it or even try to approach that person. And if the conditions are right, maybe try to talk our way out, or maybe like communicate with each other and try to understand what is really in others' mind. What is the main purpose of doing that? Sometimes it's not purpose. Sometimes it could be because of habit. Okay. So the second one, out of the second of the four immeasurable state of minds is compassion. Again, this is also a very common practice that we know of, like especially within Buddhism, we always talk about compassion. Okay. So compassion gives us the capacity to uproot the suffering of others and offer them joy. Okay, there are two parts. Removing the suffering of others. At the same time, we try to give others joy. Okay, two parts. When we have compassion in helping others, so that we can truly selfless in providing them with assistance. Okay. This answers how a bodhisattva can continuously help all beings. It's just like all the doctors, nurses, officers, those first responders, firemen, even teachers, even the people around us. Everyone practicing compassion is truly able to be selfless in helping others. And of course, in some sense, sometimes that could be, one might view it as an occupation. But later on, I will share with you, for us to really be into this profession, it has to come from a mind of perfectly willing. Okay, but when it comes to compassion, we slowly grow the compassion within ourselves and how to provide being selflessness, okay, in helping others. But this is more of a general term that we know of when it comes to the practice of compassion. But I know that some of you might also come across the practice of self-compassion. Okay, what is it? What is that? Self-compassion. Okay, so the practice of self-compassion is like we try to let go of our anger or hatred within ourselves, both physically and mentally. Okay, then we will feel less suffering in a way. Imagine if a person is very angry at that point, okay, of something happened. Do you know how that person will feel like? Let us have a quick recall when I get angry. Mentally, he's like, physically turn red, purple, blue. And then some of us, like, we will feel like difficulty in breathing. There's the mind and the physical body, they're interconnected in so many ways. So as part of like the practice of self-compassion, we try to be aware of the possibility of like getting angry or the hatred within ourselves. Okay, it is because we know that when things are not going our way, we need to pause and try to look at the whole picture, try to see what is going on. But sometimes we might just go with our emotion, okay? But thinking of the practice of compassion towards ourselves, just try to breathe, okay? So, and then that's reason why we plant the seeds of compassion is one of the ways for us to counter the anger or hatred that we might have in our mind. Okay, so let me share with you another example of the practice of compassion. Okay, so some of you who listen to the Buddhi Light Teals podcast, you might also heard this story of a bowl of noodles. Okay, so there was one occasion like this young lady, okay, middle school, okay, this daughter have been, young adult growing up. Sometimes she didn't know like why the mom said no this and no that, and a lot of things that the mom say no, okay, couldn't do it, cannot do it. Okay, so this daughter, there was one day, she was so angry of her mom, who didn't want to let her do certain things. No and no and no. I always no. Okay. And then she decided to leave home. Okay. She decided to take her backpack and then walk out of the house, just like that. Okay. And of course, the mom was like busy in the kitchen and she didn't aware of it. She didn't know that her daughter ran away. Okay. And then after some time, after a few hours, this daughter was like keep on walking and walking and walking down on the street, feeling still very angry of her mom. Suddenly, she felt her stomach was growling, hungry. Okay, so this daughter came across a noodle store, like selling noodles, hot noodles. She was like looking at the noodles, but she didn't have any money. So imagine that state of mind that she wanted to go home because she was so hungry, but because of the argument that she had with her mom, she didn't want to go home, but she was feeling so hungry. Okay, and then this person, this lady who was selling the noodle saw this little girl here, and then said that, "Are you hungry?" And then this little girl just, yes. And then the lady said that, "Okay, you just have a seat there. I'll prepare you a bowl of hot noodle soup." Okay. And then this young girl was so touched. Okay. When she ate the noodles, okay, she started crying. And then she felt so touched, saying that when this lady came over, "Why are you crying?" asking the little girl. "Your noodle tastes so delicious, and thank you for filling up my stomach. I don't have any money to give it to you, but I would like to thank you for this bowl of noodles." And this lady was saying that, "Why thank me? It's just a bowl of noodles, just one bowl of noodles. Your mom has been cooking you bowls of the bowls of the bowls of noodles and rice and dishes. Have you ever said thank you to your mom?" So when this little girl heard that, she suddenly felt that, "Oh, what have I done?" Okay. And then immediately she knew that she has to go home. So the moment that she stepped into her home, she just hugged her mom and say sorry. Yeah. So sometimes, like, if we, out of anger and out of hatred, that we decided to do certain things, sometimes we might not be able to reflect upon the impact of our action towards others. Okay. So whether we call it compassion or self-compassion, it works both ways. Okay. When we get angry, it is harmful, both physically and mentally. And not to say our words, our action that we say out, that we do towards others, the impact towards others, that is also harmful. So we practice self-compassion by being compassionate towards each other. So sometimes there are many things that we have taken for granted in life. Our families, our teachers, even our siblings, our friends, relatives. If we can always remind ourselves the practice of compassion, that helps us to really, when we want to do certain things, take a deep breath and think again. Am I being compassionate towards others? Am I being compassionate towards myself? Okay, so this is another story that I would like to share with you. And then the third one, out of the 4 immeasurable states of mind, is joy. Okay, again, to many of us, like, this is easy. Okay, the practice of joy, having joy in everything that we do. Okay, the question that you ask yourself: do you feel joy in your work? Do you feel happy in what you do? Okay, so having joy in everything that we do, even though it's a very simple line, but then again, everything that we do every single day, are we having joy in everything we do? Question mark. We ask ourselves. Okay, if without perfectly willing in the things that we do, we will not have the right effort in completing a task. When we do not have the mind filled with joy, passion, okay, in what we do, sometimes it's because of paycheck. We force ourselves to work. Sometimes it's because of my boss. I have to do certain things. The outcome, the results that we produce is slightly different than having someone who have done things feeling with joy and perfectly willing. It will have a slightly different outcome. Okay, so even how do we give others joy? This is as one of the practices, even as a Buddhist, or even as a Buddhist practitioners, or even anyone. Okay, Verbal Master Xing Yun also mentioned that a little smile can give boundless joy. Don't underestimate the joy your smile can give others. Okay, just like standing in front of the mirror. You wake up in the morning, you brush your teeth, wash your face. Okay, and sometimes some of us have the practice of like smiling to yourself in the mirror. Do you do that? Do you do that? Okay. Waking up, starting the day, filled with energy, a good start in the morning. You just smile to yourself in the mirror. Okay. And then you step out of your room, out of your house, whoever that you see on the street, we say good morning, hi, how are you doing? And so on and so forth. Your joy, the smile in your face can bring others joy because the joy comes from within yourself. Okay. So, of course, earlier I mentioned about occupation, but how about physical discomfort? Okay, how are we going to continuously be having the state of mind of joyful? How are we going to do that? So let me share with you another a true story of an 11-year-old boy. Okay, who Mason Harvey. He's from Vista in San Diego. I just saw this news like 2 days ago, and I was really touched. Okay, he was only 11 years old when he was being diagnosed with a very severe case of Crohn's disease, like something with the intestinal. Yes, it's like intestinal inflammation, including the colon, that one unable to absorb the nutrients well. So his case is a very severe case. So he started like at the age of 11 years old, he didn't know about this disease until he became very anemic, low in red blood cells, and then restless and cannot do anything because it's from the digestive system. Okay, he didn't know about it. Okay, until age 11, because he's anemic and very severe. When he went to the hospital, only then he realized that he has this disease. Okay, but of course, during the whole process of recovery, it is not easy for a little boy. Okay, but he has one of the main hobby is drawing, is food. Okay, he likes to eat. Okay, and he started drawing. You know, in a hospital bed, there's nothing that he can do. He started drawing. Okay, and he started to draw food, of course. And one of his favorite is pizza. Okay, so he started drawing pizza, and then he started to think about other kids, you know, who might be in a similar situation, who are experiencing physical discomfort. Okay, but then this boy Mason is a very positive boy. Okay, even though he experienced physical discomfort, but in his mind he's always filled with joy. Okay, even though this is not something that he had experienced before, but in his mind, even like the doctors and nurses, they all love him because he constantly have a smile in his face, no matter how discomfort he felt during that time. So he managed to, you know, recover after 2 years of treatment. But during the days when he was in the hospital, he started drawing like, you know, many drawings. So one of it is this slice of pizza. And then he started to write a few pages of sharing of his whole experience. And then there was a book. This is his book, Not Your Average Slice of Pizza. So in this book, his mom helped him a little bit. So it was written by Michelle Harvey and Mason Harvey and illustrated by Mason, the little boy. In this book, he shared his personal experience, and he hoped that with any kids who have similar experience after reading his book will have look at sickness or discomfort with more confidence and without fear, because he has gone through the whole process, even though he was 11 years old, but he managed to look at things positively and look at things filled with joy, whether this is disease or not. He just appreciate every moment that he has. Okay, and then until he has fully recovered. So this pizza is called Riggy. That is the name of that slice of pizza. That He said that Ricky is your average slice of pizza who loves his life. It is predictable and happy until one day he suddenly falls ill, and his everyday is everything but normal. And Ricky, referring to this slice of pizza, which is referring to Mason, the boy, faces his fears, learn what it meant to be brave, embrace his new journey, and find new ways to heal through helping others who are sick. Okay. And then he realized that normal is constantly changing and nobody is perfect. He understands the sickness of discomfort of his physical body as part of the norm, just like what the Buddha has shared with us. Birth, sickness, aging, and death, that is part of the process. But sometimes when we are experiencing discomfort, we go to the doctor. What is the first question that we ask the doctor? Besides why? We usually say, what is wrong with me? What is wrong with me? Is there something wrong with us? Well, again, like illness or discomfort is part of the changes of a physical body. So is it something wrong with us? Or there's some changes in us? Okay. So again, a mind that is filled with joy is how we look at things that we embrace every day. Okay. It could be, I know that physical discomfort is something that is hard for us to feel joy in it. But looking at this story from an 11-year-old boy, it is something that we can learn from him. Okay, embracing the fear, embracing and accepting our physical presence, our mental presence with joy. Okay, because everything that happened in this life, that is no real good or bad. It just happened. It just happened as it is. Okay. So how are we going to learn perfectly willing in embracing everything that we encounter every day, the people that we encounter every day? Okay. So that is the third one. And the fourth one, okay. Again, it might seem very easy, the practice of equanimity. Okay. But let us have a look at it. Okay. With a mind of equanimity, we'll be able to let go, see beyond every matter, not labeling things, and not become calculating or attached to the self. Okay. So the mind of equanimity is not just the practice of equality. Okay. Equality is sometimes like we come across in many occasions, like between races, between gender, between there are many, we emphasize a lot of equality. But as part of the four immeasurable state of mind, not only we talk about equality, but we mention about equanimity, okay? Meaning that when we are in this situation, okay, how are we going to look at matter, look at this issue, looking at this situation, not labeling things, whether it's good or bad. Okay. Let me again illustrate a story. Some of you might have heard this story, but just to give you an example of how we're going to experience our everyday life without labeling good or bad. Okay. There was one occasion, this farmer here, okay, he has a farm and then he has a horse, okay, working and helping him in the farm, carrying goods, carrying hay, many things. And one day this horse has gone missing. Poof, disappeared. It's just an empty piece of land in the farm, no horse. Okay. And then the neighbor said that, oh, how unfortunate, your horse ran away. And then this farmer just say, good or bad, who knows? He just replied like that. And then within a week has passed. When he was like working in the farm, suddenly he heard horses galloping into the farm. Oh, his horse came back. And not only his horse came back, there was a herd of horses who he brought back to the farm. And then the neighbor said that, wow, look at that. Now your horse bring a whole herd of horses back. Now you have more than one horses. Okay, that is so good. Do you know what did the farmer replied? Good or bad, who knows? Okay. And then after a few weeks, okay, the farmer's son, the farmer has a son who lived in the city, came back home and visited his dad. Okay. And then the son was like helping the farmer like with some of the chores. And then one day the son was like riding on a horse. Okay. And then he accidentally fell from the horse and broke his leg. And then again, here comes neighbor. Oh, this is so like, so unfortunate. Okay. Your son broke his leg, okay, because of riding on that horse. Then again, the farmer replied, good or bad, who knows? Okay. Having a mind that is always in an equanimity state, okay, not labeling things, it just happened. When this condition appear, it just happened, just like that. And then the farmer learned how to embrace it, learn how to go with it. Okay. And then during that time, there was a regiment of army trying to go from one farm, one place to the other, try to recruit young men to join the force and start get ready in the war. Okay. And because of the farmer's son broke his leg, they look at his son and say, no good. And then they just move on to another house. Okay. Because of that, the neighbor came again, said, oh, wow, you're so lucky. He avoids to have to go to and serve in the army. How lucky you are. Okay. And then again, the farmer just smiled in his face. Okay. With this story, some of you might have heard it, but again, this reinforces ourselves that when things happen, is it really something good or bad? Okay. Sometimes it's not within. Sometimes it's not really important for us to label whether it's good or bad. When things happen, that could be something else that will follow. We never know. Okay, just like this example here. Okay, good or bad, it just happened. But when things that is not going as per what we plan, sometimes we just label within our mind, this is bad luck, no good. It will just make our mind feel very negative about certain things. Okay, but the situation that we're in is neutral. It just happened. But when our mind look at it in a negative way, our approach towards that situation or that people, that person, it will change. Because what we think in our mind will project into what we see, into what we hear. Okay, if we can constantly practice the mind of equanimity, and when we are in this situation, we just try to understand it, be present, and go with it. Okay, and our attitude towards handling similar situation, it will be different than having a negative mind in facing the same situation that we're in. Okay, so to conclude, okay, to manage ourselves from the mind, we practice the 4 immeasurable states of mind, which includes loving kindness, compassion, joy, and equanimity. This is also the 4 spiritual aspects that Bodhisattvas embodied in providing universal benefit to all sentient beings. Okay, so just like what I have mentioned beginning of the class, we are going to have 5 precepts and Bodhisattva's precepts ceremony in July 12 to 14, a 3-day at Shillai Temple in Los Angeles. Okay, And some of us might have doubt on whether I'm ready for this or not. Okay, let's just imagine that when we enroll for our undergraduate program or graduate program or even PhD program, when we enroll and get accepted in it, how do we know that we are ready to finish the PhD? Okay, how would we know? We just try along the way, right? So the same goes to like upholding the precepts. Okay, we try ourselves when we uphold the precepts. Is our promise, is our reminder that we try our best to keep all the precepts. And the main spirit of upholding the precepts is not to harm others. And when we practice and take the Bodhisattva's vow, we practice to put others before ourselves. And even in one day that we are so physically tired, want to call it end of the day, and then you receive phone call. Oh, someone needs help. So what should I do? So we might be in that situation from time to time, but then again, we just know that first, we try our best. Second, we are still learning. Okay. Remember the metaphor of like enroll in PhD program, and we are not PhD yet, but once a person get admitted or enrolled in PhD program, it doesn't mean that a person is already PhD level. It's not. The same goes to upholding the precepts, or whether it's 5 precepts or Bodhisattva's precepts. We learn along the way. And the good thing about the vows is when we accidentally break any precepts, we know how to repent. So what is repent? Okay. Repentance is knowing what we have done, which is not so, it's like harming others or not putting others before ourselves. And that's one occasion. We know that maybe next time I'll try my best. And then because of repentance, we realize we still have room for improvement. And in the next opportunity that we have, we try a little bit harder and try to fulfill our vow as a Bodhisattva. Okay. So, but then again, everything comes from within our mind. So the 4 immeasurable state of mind is a good start for us to practice in our everyday life, whether it's within your household, your family, your colleagues at workplace, friends, everyone, your neighbors. Okay, in every occasion, when we are in this situation, think of the 4 immeasurable state of mind: loving kindness, compassion, joy, and equanimity. Just 4. Okay. So the question that I have for you, okay, to contemplate or even comment: how do we practice the 4 immeasurable states of mind in our everyday life? I know many of you has a lot of experience to share, okay? And sometimes that you have already done it, okay? But sometimes because you have so used to doing it and you're not aware of it. Yeah, but you can take this opportunity to share with others, because in our practice, we can always learn from each other. Okay, so I'll post this question on Google Classroom. So if you have time, you feel free to reply and share with others. And for those of you who doesn't have a Google account, feel free to email me with your sharing. Okay. So okay, so we have time for questions or comments. Anyone? For those of you here, you can just go to that laptop and turn on the video and unmute yourself. Thank you. Anyone have any questions online? Okay. Okay, we have questions here in person.
Testing. Hello. I can't even. I can't even control it. They're so. Oh, there it is. Okay. Hello. So my question is, how do you put others before yourself in a bodhisattva precept, but also embrace self-compassion? They seem like different concepts. That's my first question. And second question, following that, is also loving kindness. The story you talked about with the one guy with a habit and everyone else going, what the heck is that habit? That versus equanimity, saying that everybody's equal. Well, equanimity I know is beyond equality, but a lot of times I know in society, there's like studies about this, like if someone sees someone else having advantage over you, people feel unequal. So how do you reconcile both the loving kindness and say equality, maybe not equanimity, that part, and also how do you reconcile putting others before yourself versus self-compassion, or like, being compassionate towards you too, or me, or yes, yeah.
Yeah, so you need to turn off the volume. Not the speaker, just the volume. Yeah, so so the question of equanimity, again, that is the state of mind. Okay, we are now focusing on equality. Okay, equanimity is our discriminating mind. We try to be not discriminating. Okay, is the practice of equanimity. Okay, it's slightly different than equality. Yeah, so it's more of like a reminder to our self-practice. And then the next question about self-compassion, in a way, when we are being compassionate towards ourselves, okay, is in a way that we are trying to be compassionate towards others. Why? Because we are interconnected in many ways. When we are not being compassionate towards ourselves, we might do certain things out of anger, out of hatred, out of greed, out of ignorance. And if we have that state of mind in doing towards others, what will happen? Yeah, so that's the reason why self-compassion is also integrated with the practice of compassionate towards others. Okay, because imagine if we say something out of anger towards others, we will say harmful words, we will do harmful action. Okay, so that's the reason why whether it's self-compassion or being compassionate towards others, they are equally important in a way. Yeah, so I hope that answered your question. Okay. Yeah. Danny?
Can you hear me now? Yeah, I wanted to refer to one of your very first slides, and I'm glad that you brought it up because you had a before after referring to COVID. And it's very difficult looking at COVID. It seems like such an incredible disaster, and it was, but you're always talking about causes and conditions, and some of the outcomes can be very positive. And I couldn't help but think that I run a men's group. We've been in existence for about 4.5 years. We had to disband, but we started to meet with Zoom, and now we're still going. But there's one guy that's from Portland that we've never met in person. We have another gentleman who's elderly and has vertigo, so he can't come in person and stuff. So the bottom line, what I'm trying to say is that yes, there can be some really good outcomes that come out of what we perceive as disaster, and maybe rightly so. But thank you for bringing that up. I think where I run into problems with this myself is when I try to measure it. when I look back and I say, oh my God, you know, over 1 million people have died in the United States from COVID, but there are outcomes that we can't even envision right now that will be positive. So thank you.
So you need to mute the microphone. Yeah, so or maybe Charles can help to mute. Okay. Yeah, so where was I? Okay. Oh yeah, talking about positive or negative. Again, earlier, even though the story was shared like about reminder of the mind of like loving kindness, that practice also goes to the practice of equanimity, because again, whether we measure it or not, is also sometimes we label it as good or bad. Okay, I know that it is those who has passed away because of COVID, that kind of like sadness or experience, it cannot be replaced. It's not replaceable. Like you have an empty chair within the family, it will always be empty. Okay. But then again, throughout the whole situation that we were in, the whole COVID thing or the pandemic, it is something that is not for us to label good or bad, but it just happened. It just happened, and then we learn how to adapt, not only physically but also mentally. Even right now, I know that COVID has, you know, kind of like becoming more and more of the common flu. But then again, there's a novel virus where if someone got it, one will have diarrhea, vomiting, and headache. And a person, even though has recovered, is like fully very highly contagious within 2 weeks after the recovery. So we still try to, you know, wash our hands frequently before putting food into ourselves. So we learn how to adapt. We learn how to embrace the changes of condition in our surrounding. Okay, but then again, I would like to thank everyone for sharing and commenting during this class. So let me conclude next week. Okay. We're going to, okay, announcement, March 25th, we're going to talk about the wonderful ways of keeping busy and dealing with tasks. So for those of you who have the book printed in 2005, the version 1, it'll be page 20 to 21 and 78 and 79. Okay. For those of you who has a later version edition of the Keys to Living Well, the pages is slightly of 2 pages before. So 18 and 19 and 66 and 67. I have included in the syllabus that I shared on Google Classroom. So to conclude our class, let us all join our palms and we will dedicate marriage together. May kindness, compassion, joy, and equanimity pervade all worlds. May we cherish and build affinities to benefit all beings. May chant, Hyolan, and precepts inspire equality and patience. May our humility and gratitude give rise to great vows. So I hope everyone be safe and have a great week. And I'll see you again next Saturday. It's good to see everyone.